Moana is a new Disney live-action remake to the 2016 Disney animation, Moana. And I'm not going to go over the synopsis of Moana. If you've seen the Disney animation, and more likely if you're watching this review, you've seen the Disney animation, so you know exactly what Moana's about. Moana receiving a live-action remake always felt weird when that was announced, given the fact that while I do think Moana is a great movie, in fact, I would say it's probably the best Disney animation of the last 10 years. But that does lead to kind of the strange sort of issue we have right here. Moana's only a 10-year-old movie. I mean, those who experienced Moana when they were kids, 10 years later, very well could still be kids, or at least teenagers, or even very young adults. So Moana's not yet a Disney classic, and therefore it feels far too early to be making a live-action version of Moana, especially when Moana just got a sequel released, what, 2 years ago? Like recent live-action adaptations we got, like The Little Mermaid, and Snow White, and Lilo and Stitch. You know, while the quality of all of them certainly varies, and not to a particularly very good degree, it did make sense why we were getting live-action versions of those movies. Those are classics. Those have been around for a while. Those are things for us now to experience as adults in a new way. So I could understand to a degree why Disney would want to make those live-action adaptations for those movies. Yes, there was going to be a cash grab, but I could get it. A live-action adaptation of Moana made absolutely no fucking sense. And how does it stack up to the other live-action adaptations? Pretty much the same. It's pointless. It's an empty nothing burger of an adaptation that just feels like a Disney attempt to make a quick, easy buck. And judging by the box office, that's not even happening for it. Let's start off with Catherine Lagaya, who plays live-action Moana. She's okay in this movie. She's not great. She's not horrible. She's completely average. That's how I would describe her performance. Now, similar to Ali Cravalho in the Moana animation, this is her first ever movie role. Here's the difference though. Ali Cravalho only had to provide the voice for Moana. Her job was a lot more easy. She didn't have to convey her face or her emotions on screen. She just had to, you know, speak through them. Significantly easier to do in your first film debut. This girl's gotta carry her own weight completely. She's gotta express herself emotionally through her eyes, through her expressions, through her voice, through all of it. It's a much more daunting task. And this being her first ever movie, I don't know if playing a live action Moana was probably the way to go. There are times where I'm watching her do her thing and something's just not clicking. Something's not being felt by the audience the way the movie intended it to. Certainly the way we all might have felt it in the animation. And that's not to say she can't bring out any moments of heart in this movie. I will say, the moments between her and her grandmother in this movie, those are probably the most heartfelt moments in the animation, or at least some of them. Here, they are able to leave you with some fleeting moments of heart. Nothing that's gonna affect you significantly, but enough to be like, alright, well at least here, somebody gave enough of a shit to try. Now let's get into The Rock coming back as Maui, because that feels like the biggest reason why Disney decided to do this live action adaptation. So The Rock was still young enough to play Maui, but here's the thing. The Rock in this movie, oddly enough, doesn't really feel like Maui. Like he's got a blatantly obvious wig on. Obviously, I know The Rock is a fit human being, but even the way he looks in this movie, he's clearly wearing a bodysuit. And the way The Rock is in this movie, he feels very stoic, very lifeless, doesn't really feel like the big personality that Maui was in the animation. I think that's where you most apparently see the difference between live action animation and where the pros are with animation, because I think the design of Maui's animated character combined with The Rock's voice is what made Maui so iconic. In the animation, he could do certain things. He could look a certain way. He could behave a certain way. He could let out certain expressions. And through The Rock's voice, it captured it perfectly. But in the live action version, when The Rock does those exact same things, it feels weird. It feels out of place. It feels empty. It's just not fun. And Maui's supposed to be fun. And yeah, I gotta get into the CGI for this movie. The CGI is a little bit of a mess. I mean, everything in this movie clearly felt like it was on a green screen or being used with CGI. I don't know how much on location this movie tried to film really anything. And that presents a few more issues for me right there. Number one, it tells me the movie went for more CGI than it did live action, which makes it kind of an unnecessary live action adaptation. Well, not just unnecessary, but more of a phony live action adaptation, considering how heavily they relied on CGI. So right there, you're marketing yourself as something that you're not, similar to what The Lion King did when it went for a live action take. And the other issue is this: the way Moana was animated back in the day was beautiful. It was breathtaking. Like, the colors really popped, the islands looked beautiful, the ocean looked phenomenal, everything just looked spectacular. In this movie, the way that CGI is, the way the ocean looks, the islands, how fake they are, and how dull and how bleak certain things appear because, again, because you're going for the real life look, things just aren't going to be as vibrant or as beautiful as you could make them in animation. As a result, it just feels like a very dull, boring, lifeless adaptation. I know I'm using that word a lot, but it's facts. Like, you really do watch this and you feel like Disney's just going for an easy paycheck here, but then you learn that the budget for the movie was $250 million and they're producing shit like this on screen, and you're like, I mean, I don't know where you think you're going to make your money, but it's not going to be this way. It's not going to be by putting a dull, bleak, very gray, honestly, looking version of a Disney movie people love. And the other problem that I really think is not working for a lot of these Disney live action adaptations is the ones, now granted this is most Disney animations, the ones that are playing off being a musical. In Disney animations, when musical numbers break out, when the songs happened, it was fitting, it worked. That's the point of an animation. You can capture that magic, the song feels in play, sometimes it leads to moments that are funny, it, you know, makes it feel more catchy, it makes them more memorable. But in live action, when a song number breaks out, they still gotta make it feel somewhat live action, not really live action, they gotta make it feel more real. So as a result, when certain songs break out, they don't feel the same as they did in the animation, because in the animation they can get away with certain things. They can make things a little more fantasized. You can't really do that here. You can forgive that in animation with beautiful colors and beautiful scenery and great characters. When everything's wooden in live action, you're just like, cut the bullshit. Especially given the fact that the singing in the live action version is nowhere near as good as it was in the animation. So yeah, the great musical numbers that we remember, How Far I'll Go, or You're Welcome, or anything along those lines, you don't walk out of this movie feeling very hyped about them. So all in all, I'm just gonna say this. Moana, the live action adaptation, it was pointless. The Rock didn't feel like Maui. He feels better off just voicing the character. The live action Moana we got, I mean, she's okay, but she's nothing like the animated princess we love, who's not really a princess. They've joked about that in the franchise, but Disney says she's a princess. She's a fucking princess. Let's just leave it at that. It looks very dull and boring and bland. The animation, the CGI, I should say, rather, in this movie, it completely pales in comparison to the animation, which was more vibrant and beautiful and fun. Musical numbers in this movie are completely, they just feel out of place. They feel stale. They don't feel fun or exuberant. The singing is nowhere near as good in this one as it was in the animation. In the end, like I said, this movie is tanking pretty hard at the box office right now. The fact that Toy Story 5 is still racking up stacks and this movie's plummeting, hopefully Disney now is going to start getting some form of a message when it comes to these live action adaptations. I'm gonna give Moana a 3 out of 10 because outside of a few very fleeting, heartfelt moments, this movie's just bad. It's bad! So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.